Can't even see them off screen. Part of my life. But today, I'm wearing the Mrballen Ballentine's Day official merch. Check out the back. Pretty cool. Not bad, right? You can get this official merch by going to shopmrballen.com. Not bad, right? It's only available between now and 1 week from today. So it's only available for a week. If you want to celebrate this holiday in style, go to shopmrballen.com. And then also, just another announcement with regards to things going on in Ballen Studios. If you're not aware of this, just this past weekend, we took the podcast, the main podcast, and we put it on all platforms again. So since, I guess, November of 2022 up until literally this weekend, you could only access the Mrballen podcast on Amazon Music. Now you can access it everywhere. And you know what's crazy is it's only been worldwide again since this weekend, so it's only been a few days. And already, with very minimal promotion, the podcast is back into like the top 5, top 10 across most platforms. I think right now we're sitting at like number 3 on Apple, and I think we're number 8 on Spotify. So very cool. I really appreciate it, guys. The best thing you can do to maintain this amazing momentum behind the show is to go follow Mrballen Podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. So again, it's on all podcast platforms. Just go find that show and follow it. That is the key. That is how the algorithm kind of pushes podcasts. They want to see people following the shows. And then just listen in. There are over 100 exclusive stories that have been effectively only available to those listening to the podcast on Amazon Music for the better part of the year. So if you haven't been, there's like hundreds of hours to crush. So go check that out. But enough promotion here. Today is actually about just storytelling, because that's really what this whole thing is about to begin with. And today I got some throwback stories to tell you. I also have a news story at the end of this live stream. I will tell you when that is, but you got to stick around to the end to hear it. It's a good one. It's Valentine's Day themed. So again, today we're going to go through a few stories, and then we'll do the news story at the end, and then also there is a Q&A at the end of the show. It's a 10-minute Q&A. I think that kind of covers it. And then also, Drew, I know you're listening. If there's anything else that you need to interject about the raffle and about the after party and anything else that's going on, there'll be time in between the stories for you to pop on and clarify anything I have not. So, I can't think of anything else. Am I missing anything before we get going? All right, cool. So here we are, Ballentine's Day. Let's dive into some stories here. So this first one, I was kind of laughing about it. There's not too many stories that are laugh-worthy in the Mrballen catalog. You could make the case this is one of the very few, and I figured it was a good icebreaker to get this thing going. So here we go. This one, I forgot what I called this one, but I think you'll know this story once I get going. All right. So in 1971. There was this 19-year-old kid named William who had just begun studying physics and computer science in a university in Northern Ireland. He was in Belfast. William was a really smart guy. He had the aptitude to be an amazing scientist or whatever he was trying to be. But he quickly discovered that he really wasn't that into physics and computer science, and so he dropped out. And so naturally, being a physics dropout, his next move was to become a forklift driver at the Guinness factory in his hometown in Northern Ireland, in Belfast. So he's driving a forklift for Guinness, and he's loving the job. He's slinging the barrels of beer around on the compound, but it wasn't enough for him. He wanted to do more with his life, and so he really looked up to his 2 older sisters. And his 2 older sisters were both teachers. And so he felt like, what they're doing is meaningful and I want to be just like them. And so William applied to a 4-year teaching college in England, and then he got accepted. And so he quickly moved to England and he began this teaching program. And so the first year of the teaching program goes great. William, he's a smart guy. He's doing all his assignments. He's getting good grades. He's on the path to become a professional teacher. But then things get a little hairy during year 2. So during year 2 of this particular teaching certificate that he was going through, all of the aspiring teachers have to go into a real school, like a high school or whatever, and teach a real course, like teach a full syllabus to an actual class. It's like a practical test they have to go through. And within the class that William was in, it was kind of a known thing that everybody dreads this aspect of getting this particular degree, because the schools that they were sent to were like with these kids who were kind of unruly, who kind of did not take the teachers in training seriously at all. Like they would come into the class and basically get ridiculed. Nobody took them seriously. They're just like, they're not real teachers, that kind of thing. And so during year 2, William, like the rest of his class, is kind of dreading this, teaching assignment. And so he gets his assignment and he's told he's going to go to the high school and he's going to teach a day of coursework to 15 and 16-year-old boys. Now, again, he's dreading this, but he's like, all right, make the best of this. I'm gonna go in there, establish dominance, and I'm gonna get these kids to listen to me, and it's gonna be fine. And also to give you a visual, William is this like hulking 6'4" tall guy who he was like this very skilled amateur boxer. He's got cauliflower ears. He looks like a big tough guy. Okay, so put that in your mind. Here's this big guy going in to do this class with these teenage boys. And so he goes into class, and it's pretty much exactly what he expects. He walks in, and it's just teenage boys all over the room. They see him, and even though he's this imposing figure, they're not intimidated at all. They're like, oh, sweet, like today's a joke day because our teacher's not here. And so William, he goes in, and the first thing he does is he kind of senses, like, okay, no one's really taking me seriously. And so he leads with just like screaming at the class to take their seats. Like, I'm not screwing around here. Take your seats. And so it kind of worked because the bulk of the class was like, okay, this guy's big time. And so most of the class sat down, except for one kid. The biggest kid in the class was this 15-year-old strapping young man who was in the back of the class, and sitting around him were like his cronies, the guys that thought he was so funny. And so William is looking at this kid, and the kid's looking back at William, and the kid's got his arms crossed, and he's just challenging William. He knows that William wants him to sit. He's not going to do it. And so William just kind of eyes this guy down, and he's like, take your seat. And the kid's like, nope. And so William walks right up to this kid and gets right in his face and basically screams at his face to get out of this classroom or else, like, get out of this classroom. And then William, who thought he had really put the fear of God in this kid, he turns around and he walks back up towards the front of the class, expecting this kid to get it and turn around and follow him out of the classroom. But he didn't. He turned around and the kid hadn't moved. The kid is still standing there with his arms crossed, just staring up at William. And so William looks at him again, and he's about to scream at this kid to get out, like with all of the anger he could muster, when William notices this kid begins to draw a knife from his waist. And suddenly, William just snapped, and he charged into the back of the room and just blasted this kid, like barreled him over the desk. And the kid, like, he stood up and he's totally rattled. And at this point, he's up and he's out of the classroom. He's listening now. And so for the rest of the day, the whole class was really well behaved. But at the end of the day, William got completely fired, and his teaching career was 100% over. This was the end. So he's not going to be a teacher. He beat up a kid, so it's over. And so what is a failed aspiring teacher to do? Well, naturally, William went back to his hometown in Belfast, tail between his legs, and he's like, well, I guess I'll try my hand at that one thing I've always been interested in, acting. And wouldn't you know it, he tried out for a local theater, and he got picked up to be the lead role in this play. And 4 years later, William Neeson, a.k.a. Liam Neeson, was spotted by a Hollywood filmmaker at this local theater in Belfast. And they're like, who is this legendary actor? And they signed him, and he became the big movie star he is today. So Liam Neeson, the man with a particular set of skills from the movie Taken there, he literally beat up a kid. That's how he became a famous actor. So that is the kickoff story for the night. I realize he beat up a kid, and that's not funny. But considering it was back in the 70s, I think we can laugh about it now, because obviously the outcome was a very positive one. So there you go. I can't see the chat. I'm hopeful that people think that's as entertaining as I think it was.
They're going wild.
Good.
They're spamming like crazy.
Good. I love to see it. Make sure you spam Lungy in the chat, or I guess don't spam it. You only got to say it once, according to Drew. But just keep spamming it. That's fine. Just keep spamming it. That's just fine. All right. I guess unless there's any reactions we should give here, I think we're good. Move on to the next story. It's jarring that I can't see the. By the way, Nick, my fearless, the CEO of Ballin Studios, my manager, he's here, just like old Ballentine's Day, sitting in the corner. And then also Jeremy, who we can't see. He is the head of the editing department for Ballin Studios. He's floating around in the back, and there was a whole like just nightmare trying to get our setup for this event because I am like illiterate when it comes to equipment, and I screwed it all up, and so we had to come in here and fix it. And Drew, shout out to you for walking us through and getting us all set up. So thank you to you all. My team's the best. Thank you.
You say that 5K.
And look at that, 5,000 people on here. That's awesome. All right, so now that we've gotten the first uplifting-ish story out of the way, we're going to go the complete opposite direction to one of the most just intensely horrible stories I've probably ever covered. So a little bit of a mood shift. All right, so this one's actually, I can't even believe this one's true. It's a shorty, but it's gnarly. So here we go. All right. So off the coast of Myanmar, there is this small flat island called Ramree Island. Now, there's probably going to be a lot of people that recognize that name. I would ask you that you do not ruin this story in the chat because it's a good one. We don't want to wreck it. So if you know what the story is, please don't say it. So there's this small island, flat island off the coast of Myanmar called Ramree Island, and during World War II, this island had strategic significance. It basically served as a fantastic air base for anybody who controlled it. And in 1942, the Japanese took Ramree Island from the British. And then in 1945, the British decided it was now time to reclaim Ramree Island from the Japanese. So on January 21st, 1945, the British, with the help of an Indian infantry unit, they assaulted Ramree Island, and they did it under the cover of darkness, and they had this huge naval assault that basically covered their approach in. And so it's this full-scale assault of Ramree Island. And the fighting was super intense for about 24 hours. The Japanese soldiers that were on the island, of which there was thousands of them, they fought very fiercely, but at some point it was very obvious that the British and again the Indian infantry unit had completely surrounded the troops that were on this small island. And it was just a matter of time before either all of the soldiers, the Japanese soldiers, were wiped out or they would surrender. And so the British and the Indian military unit, they're totally expecting the Japanese to surrender, really at any point. This is 24 hours after the invasion. They're just gearing up for this surrender. But it's not entirely clear how the British and Indian military unit figured this out. But the Japanese soldiers that were still alive, that were a part of this battle, 24 hours in, there was about 1,000 of them. They opted not to surrender, even though, really, their odds of survival were like zero. But they opt not to surrender, and instead they decide to retreat across Ramree Island to the very opposite side of the island, where there was a much larger Japanese battalion that was stationed there. So they're thinking, link up with them, and then we can either all retreat, or we can certainly put up a pretty big counteroffensive. Again, it's not really clear how the British and the Indian military unit figured that out, but somehow they totally figured out at the 24-hour mark that the Japanese are going to make this movement. Now, the only issue with this movement, with this retreat movement for the Japanese, was in order to get to the other side of the island, the only way to do it without being seen by the British and the Indians was to cut through 10 miles of just horrible swampland, where the mud is so thick you can barely walk through it. There are insects carrying disease. There's poisonous snakes. It's a huge marsh. It's not a good place to be cutting through, especially when loads of these guys are badly injured. This is going to be a really challenging retreat. But it's like, if you do the hard thing and you go through this marsh, you will be able to get out the other side and have a fighting chance at connecting with the other battalion. So the British and the Indian military unit, they're aware that this is the movement that the Japanese are going to do. And instead of them chasing after the Japanese soldiers in the swampland, they instead are like, okay, we'll just set up boats around all of Ramree Island, basically around this 10 miles of swamp, And I mean, it's a little morbid, but they basically were just going to sit there with their guns trained at the coast. And if anybody popped their heads out, I mean, there you go. You're either going to get shot or you're going to surrender. So their game plan was, we'll just wait, and people will come out, or we'll wait until they actually make it to the other side of the swamp, where there was a way for the British and the Indians to actually see them if they made it out successfully. So they had the ability to basically catch the Japanese no matter where they went. Okay, so this is a perilous situation for the Japanese soldiers that are still alive. So the British are all set up. The Indian military unit, they're set up, and they're just waiting. And so it's nightfall. It's been 24 hours, and the night begins. The night goes away that the British were not expecting. Basically, it was totally silent on the island. So it's the middle of the night. It's totally silent. And then the British began hearing, and the Indian military unit, they began hearing like very strange sounds coming from inside the swampland. It was a combination of individual men screaming out, and the British couldn't tell if these were Japanese soldiers that were trying to just communicate with the rest of their unit, or if they were trying to warn other soldiers what was going on. They couldn't really tell what it was. But then these screams became more and more pronounced. There was more screams kind of all across this 10-mile stretch. It was not just isolated onesie twosie. It was kind of like everywhere. And then all these gunshots began ringing out inside of the swamp. So you'd hear screams and men yelling out stuff, and then there'd be all these gunshots, and then back to silence. Now, remember, there's no other enemy combatants relative to the Japanese inside of the swampland. And so the British and the Indians are like, what are they shooting at? Are they shooting at each other? Are they confused? Do they think we've invaded? They don't know. So it's just this weird night of screaming, gunshots, silence. Screaming, gunshots, silence. The next morning, or I should say, by the next morning, when the sun came up, the British had not spotted any Japanese soldiers that attempted to flee this retreat. Basically, they didn't see anybody. The Japanese were still completely hidden inside of this marsh. They had not successfully exited the other side. They're just still in there. And so a decision was made to send a small reconnaissance team onto Ramree Island, the British would, to just look around and see what's going on. What was happening last night? What are the Japanese doing? And when they sent this crew of clandestine soldiers to land, they would discover what has become a Guinness World Record, probably one of the most disturbing Guinness World Records of all time. They found that, well, I should say, in addition to the poisonous snakes and the insects with diseases and the treacherous mud, in addition to all that, in this marshy area on Ramree Island is also home to one particular apex predator, and I believe it actually is the highest concentration of this particular predator in the world, is in this marsh on Ramree Island. So they're mostly here, and they are 20-foot-long saltwater crocodiles, which, if you don't know any better, they are considered to be the animal that is most likely to eat a human. They are far and away the most aggressive towards humans relative to other predators. And over the course of that night, when the Japanese began that retreat through the swampland, a lot of them were wounded and they were bleeding. And the blood was all over the place, and it attracted hundreds of these 2,000-pound, 20-foot-long saltwater crocodiles at night in their home turf where they can navigate. And the crocodiles ate 500 of the Japanese soldiers in the middle of the night. So the screams and the shooting, that was every time a crocodile was attacking one or multiple soldiers. And so the Guinness Book of World Record is that this is considered the single highest, or it's the worst animal attack ever. I think it's the highest number of fatalities for a single animal attack in modern history is the Ramree Island massacre. So yeah, that's the Ramree Island story. If you want to Google that some more, that's crazy. That's something else. I think to myself, it's one thing to imagine that whole scene from the perspective of, if you thought how a movie might portray that scene. It would be very kind of cinematic, and it'd be so crazy. There'd be so much action and splashing and animals and screaming. But in reality, this is a 10-mile stretch where you have 1,000 people spread out across 10 miles. It's like individually, these men were living like complete nightmares. It's pitch black. They can't make any noise because they don't want to alert the British or the Indians. They're moving around in water that's up to their neck or up to their waist. A lot of them are wounded. And these massive crocodiles are picking them off one by one, and they can't see them coming. Like, I can't think of a worse scenario to be in. And it amazes me that the Japanese didn't surrender. They stayed the whole night getting eaten by crocodiles. That is otherworldly levels of commitment to the cause. So, on that note, before we move in to the next story, real quick, Drew, do you have anything that you would like to throw out there that I have not covered about the raffle, about the after party, any of that stuff? I'm going to pause here and give you a second to either say or not say something.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, everyone. This is perfect. We might have a slight echo for a few moments here. Let's see if it fixes itself. I can mute Mrballen, actually. Can you guys all hear me? I have no echo now, correct? Are we all good? Should be good. I had to mute Mrballen there for a second. So I would love to share with you and just introduce myself. My name's Crew. I am a community manager here overseeing the Discord server. I want to welcome you all here to our live event, one of a few we've done on the server, our digital live experience. But what I wanted to share with you is at the end of this event, we are going to be hosting an after party. And that after party is going to be a really cool experience to bring our events team up, do some trivia, introduce you to more of the community members, because what you see here in the server is just the beginning. We consolidated everything just for this experience, and we'll be opening up many more chats for you to explore, art contests, movie nights, game nights, you name it. We're bringing it to life. So stick around. I'd love to see you guys at the end of the event, and I'm going to hop off here and unmute Mrballen.
Thank you, Drew. You are the man. Okay, so actually, real quick, it's 6:26 our time. What do you think about throwing in the bonus and then the new, or what do you think?
Yeah, I got some comments too.
Oh, actually, real quick, Nick says we got some comments. Let's take a minute to do a little comment reaction.
So DV Hailstorm, spending Valentine's Day with my husband watching Mrballen. Happy Valentine's Day.
Nice.
You have Lalika, best ending to my Valentine's Day.
Love it.
Yeah. And then this one's for the people. Can we please see your hair under your hat?
Yes, you can. Look at this. You know, this is it. You know what's funny is I wear my hat so much, as you are all well aware, that I am highly self-conscious of not having a hat on. So this has taken a lot of nerve for me to show you the locks, even though I mean it's pretty decent flow here. I would say for anybody out there, is it normal to have this aggressive of a part? I mean, like, look at this thing. It looks horrible. To me, that looks horrible. What are the comments saying? Are people just saying, yeah, that looks terrible, or are they saying that's normal?
They said gorgeous locks.
Thank you. I needed that.
And then a ton of comments about the hoodie. If it's available. If it's available.
Good. Here, you know what I'll do? I don't know if I can even see myself without a hat. I'll try it. You know, this is going to be a once in a lifetime. I'm going to attempt to tell a story without a hat on. I don't know if it's possible. All right, so here we go. I'm going to do a story that I hadn't intended to do. It's an oldie but goodie. It's a short one, and then after that we'll do the new one. This one is it's a squirmer for sure. This is another one that's hard to believe this actually happened, but hey, the truth is stranger than fiction, as we all know. All right, here we go. On August 15th, 2003, a veteran construction worker named Ron Hunt, he was 41 years old, he headed to work at this building site in Reno, Nevada, where he was a part of a team of people that were building this new house. And so I'm not used to combing my hair back mid-story. And so he gets there on this particular day. And when he went in to work, the one thing he needed to do for the house that day was just drill a few holes in the ceiling of one of the rooms. It wasn't entirely clear, or I couldn't figure out why he was doing that. But either way, apparently this is a routine thing, maybe for putting electrical through, I don't know. But it was routine. He had to go in on that day and drill some holes in the ceiling. You know, this is something he's done, countless times. So he gets to this building site. He goes into the room he's supposed to be doing this in, and he grabs his 6 foot tall, step ladder, and then he puts it down where he wants to drill the holes. And he goes up with his drill and he begins punching holes into the ceiling with this drill. So no big deal. He just drill, no big deal. He comes down, he moves the ladder, and he positions it in the room where there is more need for holes in the ceiling. And so he climbs up the ladder and he begins drilling holes in the ceiling, except this time the drill keeps getting stuck in the ceiling. You can't really tell what it was. There was no stud or anything. It was like just getting stuck in the sheetrock or whatever it was. You can tell I'm not a construction worker, so I'm probably butchering the things that he was doing. But either way, he was getting stuck in the ceiling. And so he said, I got to put a little more oomph behind, how much I'm pushing on this drill. And so, Ron took another step to the top of this 6 foot tall ladder, and he kind of positioned himself where he had a little bit more leverage on the back of this drill. And then he began pushing as hard as he could into the ceiling to really get this thing to go through. But as he did, he was pushing so hard that he kind of tilted his body, I suppose, and he pushed his feet basically back at an angle, and it toppled over, or it began to topple over the step ladder. So what happened next happened in the space of like a fraction of a second, right? Like he's about to fall off the ladder. That happens really quickly. But Ron, being a veteran construction worker, when you're working with a drill, if you're on a ladder and you begin to fall, you want that drill as far away from you as possible. And so on instinct alone, or like muscle memory, the second Ron began to feel the ladder tipping, he took his finger off the drill, so it's not moving anymore, and he tried to throw it away from him. But somehow or another, when he attempted to throw this drill, he kind of threw it in the direction he wound up falling. And this huge drill that had an 18-inch drill that was 1.5 inches in diameter, it landed with the drill bit pointing straight up. And when Ron fell off the ladder, his right eye socket landed directly on the drill bit. And the drill, the 18-inch long, 1.5 inch diameter beveled drill, went through his right eye all the way out to the back of his skull, and it penetrated out another 6 inches. And so Ron, he hits the ground and he doesn't move. He's just stuck on this drill and he's in total shock. And he feels the drill. He can feel the base of the drill. He can feel the bit going into his eye. And he feels around the back of his head. And he can feel 6 inches of the back of this drill. And he's like, I'm dead. I'm literally dying. This is me dying. I don't know how I'm alive now. I'm dying. And so he begins screaming. Like that's all he can do. He can't move. He's just screaming. So on this day, there was one other guy who was there, whose name was Forrest Keaton. I think his name was Forrest Keaton. And he hears the screams, he runs in, and he sees Ron face down with a drill impaled through his head. And Ron, who has no idea what to do, he's probably thinking this guy should be dead. He just ripped off his shirt and kind of roughly wrapped it around Ron's head, and then told Ron, stay put, I'm going to go get help. And so Forrest would run out of the build site, and he would run, over to the nearest house, and he would call paramedics. And then, minutes later, paramedics would get to the build site. They would find Ron, and he was still alive, still in position, kind of like cradling this huge drill with the bit through his head. And so the paramedics, they would detach the drill base from the bit itself, and they would put him on a stretcher, and they would rush him to a local hospital. And then they were not able to treat the injury, so they flew him via helicopter to a much bigger hospital. And when they got there, the doctors, they can't believe Ron is still alive at this point. But they're like, okay, we don't know how to get this drill out of his head. So they began trying to cut bits of the drill to kind of cut it away from him. But then they're like, he's going to have this stretch of drill stuck in his skull that almost certainly will ruin, his life in some capacity. And so Ron, who's conscious, he's alive and conscious, okay? He's like totally present for this whole thing happening somehow. They say to him, they're like, okay, Ron, we're going to have to unscrew this drill from your head. There's no other way. And unfortunately, you need to be awake for this. And so they gave Ron some extra morphine, and then they began unscrewing this 18 inches of drill bit out of his head. This would take several hours of constantly turning this thing till it came out. And what do you think Ron was doing while this was going on? Dude was cracking jokes the whole time. look, somebody get a picture of me. This is great. Yeah, I'm going to tell my friends how great I look. What a great construction worker I am. And so apparently, like in the operating room, the doctors are like cracking jokes with Ron as they're unscrewing a bit from this guy's brain. And then when they finally did pull it out, Ron would lose sight in his right eye for sure. So he went blind, but he had no other damage. There was no paralysis. There was like no brain damage. The dude made a completely full recovery, again, minus blindness in his right eye. But he'll take it, because he should not have been alive. And the doctors would say, the way this drill went into your head, it basically went in, and then instead of impaling your brain, it like pushed your brain to the side and kind of slid around the inside of your skull and poked it out. It gave it like, a 1 in a million chance that your brain would not be penetrated, in which case you would have died. So this guy, 100% miracle, lived to see the tale. Live to see another day. And also, if you look up Ron Hunt, there is a shocking X-ray picture, which I should have had prepared to show you right now. But you can imagine an X-ray of someone with 18 inches of steel pipe, where one end is coming out their eye and the other is coming out the back of their head. It looks fake, but it's real. Pretty gnarly stuff. So that's Ron Hunt, and I can't believe I got through that without a hat on. That is something else. I guess it's possible. I guess I can go hatless, but I'm gonna choose not to. All right. How are the comments looking over there, dude?
Already got a few. Damn, I wish my hair looked like yours.
Nice. That's what I care about.
And this one's got to be a summer drop for the merch. You look like John Wick. #BallenWick.
Hey, dude. There we go.
Right?
Maybe we can get old John Wick to collab with us.
Man, there's going to be a sick lungy drop this summer. Yeah, we'll work on it. Speaking of lungy, we should give Homeboy a shout.
Oh, yes.
They were like, can John do the lungy impression, please, now?
You don't even. We touch on seagull lung for you all right now. So for those who are not aware, and I'm pretty sure we're in a company where pretty much everybody's initiated, but it's become a thing that on the ad segments we do on YouTube, we incorporate seagull lung, who is my pet frog, and in fact Jeremy, who's over there, is responsible for coming up with, frankly, the frog character. Because I came up with the name, but he had the frog, and honestly, Jeremy does a lot of the writing on the ads. So, Jeremy, good job over there. But when I film these ridiculous ads, like people think that I'm faking my bloopers, because I sometimes leave bloopers in the ad reels. Those are not fake. I'm sitting in this room by myself, filming something that makes no sense about like coconut crabs with machetes and blind kangaroos that are steering ships into oblivion. If it makes any sense, and it has no connection to the thing we're advertising. And so I'm sitting there like, what is this? And then we fire these things off to the brand that's like, paid to have this advertisement. And we're thinking to ourselves like, what do they think when they get these ads? Like, oh boy, this is really going to sell this product.
I'm going to buy HelloFresh right now.
Yeah, this makes sense. Yeah, swearing at walruses in caves. That really connects to DraftKings. So there you go, seagull lung. And also, and I tell you what, you will see, mark my words, some cool seagull lung stuff in the not too right. We got plans. We got plans.
100%.
We got plans for seagull lungs. You wait. You're gonna get some good seagull lung stuff. Okay. So,
Maybe a shout out to the foundation. I think Lori's on.
oh, yeah, actually, let's do that. So, as you all might know, here before we go into the last story, which is the news story, the Mrballen Foundation is now, how many years are we going on? Well, I know Lori Gift, our director, I know you're out there. I love you, Lori. You're doing an amazing job with the foundation. Thank you. And to the whole team at the foundation, you guys are amazing. But we're at
Almost 3 years.
3 years. Oh,
And it was December of 21.
Yep.
When we started talking about it, then it started Jan.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
3.
So the Mrballen Foundation, for those who don't know, it is a charitable organization that we stood up going on 3 years now. And under Lori's leadership, she's our executive director over there. And like, I really can't say enough about Lori. She's the reason this thing is more than just a concept. It's become a full-blown charity because we have an incredible leader in Lori, and she's a very strong team. But the whole point of that charity was, it's not a secret that the stories that we cover on YouTube, on podcast, these are real stories about real tragedies. And while of course there's a very high level of respect paid to the people that are in the story, when I'm narrating these stories, I'm very cognizant of the fact that these are real people, and we've reached a point in terms of visibility where we can't publish a story without people connected to the people in the story hearing the story. So like, we're very conscious of being very respectful, but it doesn't change the fact that fundamentally we are a company that profits off of tragedy. We do not bill ourselves as that, but that's the truth, and we can't run from that fact. So instead of like trying to say how respectful we are, we just are respectful and also donate an enormous amount of money back to victims of violent crime and their families. So the way it works is the foundation, we give out grants every quarter. There's $25,000 honor grants, and there's $10,000 grants as well. We have loads of partners that we give these grants to that are already helping in this space. They're helping victims, they're helping families. And then we also, again, under Lori's leadership, she'll go out and she'll go to places where tragedies have just occurred. I mean, Lori was on the ground in Uvalde, Texas, like within days of the shooting in Uvalde. And she was the one who, met the families, she met the teachers, she met the school, the leadership, and she was the one who presented them with $50,000, like immediately. And then I think we gave them another grant for $50K, and then we have a setup to continue grants to Uvalde and their bereavement center that they stood up. Lori and her team, they're all over the place, basically doing quick response grant giving for tragedies. It's like our quick reaction. It's unfortunate that there needs to be that type of grant or that type of program to be able to give money for things like mass shootings, but that's the world we're in. And thankfully, through the Mrballen Foundation, we have now given $1,042,420. I think that's the amount. I could be wrong, but it's $1,040,000 that has gone out the door from the charity. And while obviously, we need Lori and we need, our platform and all that, ultimately, the only way we get to have that type of impact is because of you all. Without a platform, without people tuning in, what good is it if I'm out here tooting around about all the things we need to do? It's only because of you all that we even have the ability to have this impact. So as you're listening to these stories, you can feel good, and you can feel good with the fact that the profits from these videos, these podcasts, all the things we're doing, a huge amount of it just goes right back into the people that are featured in these stories. Also, last thing before I continue rambling is, so Ballentine's Studios. So there's two entities here. We have the foundation, which is its own company, the charity, and then Ballentine's Studios is like the entire umbrella for the media company that operates as Mrballen. Ballentine's Studios covers operational expenses at the foundation, which means if you donate money, any amount of money to the Mrballen Foundation, we have pledged that 100% of your donation goes out the door. We do not take donations and pull off any bit of it for operational expenses. That's something Ballentine's Studios picks up entirely. That is not common within charities, not at all. I came from charities before I began doing Mrballen. It's very difficult to do that without a really strong partner, and so we have that in the studio. So again, it's an incredible organization that's making huge change, and I think it's a necessary part of the thing we're building here through the Strange, Dark, and Mysterious community, and it wouldn't be possible without you all. So it's an incredible thing. Go check out the Mrballen Foundation. Spam, thanks Lori in the chat for a second, because she is making that the whole thing possible. So yeah, Mrballen Foundation. That was really long, but there you go. Anything else before I get into a slightly longer story?
We got some cool comments.
Let's do comments.
Cool comments.
Let's do
all right,
comments.
Mrballen rocks.
Thank you.
You all know that. I tell everyone in Belgium how brilliant this guy is.
Belgium!
Shout out to Belgium. Let's go. All right, so because you were so gracious on taking your hat off, someone says, as a hairstylist, don't worry. Your hair looks amazing, and your part's nothing to worry about.
Really? Okay, because I was pretty suspicious. Look at this. If I just do this,
yeah,
here I am. I have this ridiculous. Look at this. Zoom in on the part, dude. It's horrible. To me, that looks like I got problems with my hair. But I also just smashed it under a hat. So if I was gonna have problems, it's definitely my fault.
And we got a really cool one too. You're responsible for a marriage. Two of my friends met through the Mrballen SDM Facebook fan page. They were mods, fell in love. He moved from New Zealand to the U.S.
That's insane.
Valentine's
That is
Day,
awesome.
baby.
Wow. If that's not a Ballentine's Day story, I don't know what is.
Go.
I'm going to reiterate that because I know that you just said it. But so, wait, there are people that got married because of Strange, Dark, and Mysterious. That's pretty amazing. That is pretty amazing. That makes me feel very good. That's awesome. That's a good story.
Hell yeah.
All right. Before I begin the next one, am I missing anything? We good? I'll do another quick reminder. Quick. It will be quick. One, if you want this sweatshirt and is there other merch?
Yep.
If you want this sweatshirt, which is an official custom Valentine's Day 2024 hoodie. Also, we have, this is gonna be a hot item. Okay. This is the one of one. You can't really tell, but this is a new pin. There we go. See if I can back up so you can focus on it. Hold on. Stay with me. Stay with me. I gotta like block my face. Okay. Now I'm focused on it.
That's the one.
All right. Can you see that? Okay. Well, I'm doing a horrible job getting this in frame. Okay. It's a stick pin.
Same logo on your.
There we go. It's this logo, but it's a pin. It's the exact same quality as the last pins we did. People loved the pins that we put out a couple months ago.
1 of 500, limited edition.
Yeah, is there 500 of these?
Just 500.
There's 500 of these pins. No big deal. I got pin 1 of 1, but you can maybe get pin 2 of 500. But yeah, anyways, get your pin. There's sweatshirts and there is t-shirts. No,
T-shirts, crew neck.
T-shirt, crew neck, this,
Yep.
hoodie, pin.
2 different designs on the T-shirt, 2 different designs on the hoodie, and 1 design on a crew neck.
Anyways, shop Mrballen.com. There is custom merch for Valentine's Day, but it's only available until next week, the 21st, Wednesday.
Wednesday.
You got 1 week. That's it, and then it's not being sold again. That's not a farce. We're done with it after the 21st, so go get your Valentine's Day merch. Candidly, this is actually my favorite sweatshirt we've ever made. That's not even a sales tactic. I just wouldn't have said anything if I didn't believe that. It's a great sweatshirt. In fact, I campaigned to have this sweatshirt on, not a flannel, because I thought it was so cool. My team said, maybe you should do a flannel. What's your thing? I said no, because this is pretty cool. So go check that out. Other reminder, I think you got.
Then if they want to send questions in for the Q&A,
Yeah,
they can send those to the chat.
Okay.
And I'll get some.
So after this next story, which is a little bit longer than the other ones, it's the news story. So hang in there. We're going to do that Q&A. And so if you want to submit questions, we have our whole team looking at the chat right now. So it probably will not get drowned out with a bunch of comments. People are looking for questions. So feel free between now and the Q&A to submit your questions, or just submit like your scathing, criticisms of me, whatever it is you want to put in there. Hopefully it's a nice question, but you can do that now. And then again, last promotional, and then we'll get into the last story. Again, our podcast, the Mrballen podcast, is now available on all podcast platforms. All the episodes. So it's available everywhere. Just go look for it, go follow it, and that would be hugely helpful. We're currently ranking in like the top 10 across all platforms. We'd love to stay there. And then also just Mrballen's Medical Mysteries is still out there on all platforms. Go check that out. And we got other podcasts. Anyways, I'm just gonna start the next story because I've done too much promotional stuff anyhow. Here we go. Go check out Mrballen podcast. Boom. All right, last story. News story. Let me get my notes set up for me real quick. All right. On Valentine's Day in 1998, a married couple named Kim and Steve Rico holding hands as they walked towards their car. They had just dropped off their 8-year-old daughter at one of their neighbors' houses in this very nice suburban neighborhood in Maryland where they lived. Because Kim and Steve had a very fun weekend ahead of them, and so they dropped their daughter off so they could enjoy the weekend. And Kim and Steve were so excited about this big weekend getaway. Although admittedly, Kim didn't really understand what they were going to be doing, because Steve was the one who planned this big getaway that weekend, and he had been very secretive about his plans. So the few weeks leading up to this weekend, Kim would catch Steve on the phone in their house, and then Kim would walk in, and suddenly Steve would not want to let her hear what he was saying, and he'd hang up or go in the other room. And then other times, Kim would catch Steve writing down all these notes in his notebook, and Kim would come in and immediately he's closing up his notebook because he doesn't want her to see it. But there was always this attitude of, Steve wanted this to be a big surprise, and so Kim kind of accepted that that's what that was going to be. And so the couple, they wind up getting to their car and they hop inside, and Steve, he's in the driver's seat and Kim's in the passenger seat. And as Steve fires up the car and begins the drive, Kim one more time is like, can you please tell me where we're going, like what we're doing? And Steve's like, nope, it's a surprise. You'll see when you get there. So Kim did kind of a dramatic, like she acted like she was annoyed, but in reality, this was kind of exciting for her. And the reality was, lately, their marriage had not been good. There were not high points in Kim and Steve's marriage. It had been pretty rocky lately. So for context, Kim and Steve had been married for 9 years. They actually met 9 years earlier. They got married very quickly. And they were very, very different people. So Steve, he's this 6'4" like huge guy who's like this total gentle giant who's very introverted, very gentle, but very quiet, total introvert. And Kim was like the total opposite. She's like a firecracker, social butterfly, partier. And when they met, Kim had really been on a string of like bad boyfriends, guys she'd meet at parties or out at the bar, and invariably all these relationships just kind of fell apart, and Kim got her heart broken. But then Steve came along, and he was just so much different than everybody else, and he really made Kim feel like she was safe and protected. And they really hit it off right away. And very quickly after meeting each other, Kim got pregnant. And as soon as Steve found out she was pregnant, he proposed to Kim. And without any hesitation, Kim said yes. And initially, the marriage had been excellent, especially for Kim, because Steve was like this very, like he really balanced her out. So he volunteered to stay home with their daughter while she was a baby because he knew Kim wanted to go back to school and become a surgical technician. And so like right away, Kim gives birth to the baby, and Steve's first reaction is, "Give me the kid. You go to school. I got this." And so Kim, she goes to school. She becomes a surgical technician. She's so pumped. And Steve, he's just like this great dad. He's this great husband, and he was just all about doing anything he could just make life easier for Kim. That was like his whole mission in life, is make life better for Kim. But over the last year, so fast forward back to 1998, Valentine's Day, over the last year leading up to that Valentine's Day, Steve, or I should say their marriage, really took a turn. It went from being this wonderful thing that, really brought each other balance and happiness, to Steve really kind of just went super internal. He became super introverted. He became crazy shy, like way more than he ever had been. And it was fairly obvious to Kim that it just seemed like Steve was pretty depressed. He didn't want to do anything with Kim. Not that he was being rude to her, but he was just like not interested in going out, not interested in really even leaving the house. And for like a year, Steve basically just stayed inside, ignored Kim, watched TV, and worked out in the basement. And that was basically his whole life. And remember, Kim, even though she wasn't necessarily like a big partier anymore, she still very much enjoyed going out and doing things. And so for her, it was like a big deal that for a year, she's like not able to do anything with her husband. And so she began asking him, towards the latter half of this year leading up to this Valentine's Day in 98, she began trying to get Steve to go to therapy. But Steve refused. He didn't want to go to therapy for whatever reason. And so right around the new year, so coming into 1998, Kim told Steve that she'd had enough. She can't live a life where her husband is completely disinterested in her and doesn't want to do anything she wants to do. And so she asked Steve for a divorce. Now, that request for a divorce is actually what inspired this trip they were going on Valentine's Day in 1998. Because even though Kim was coming to Steve over and over again and telling him, you got to go to therapy, we got to fix this, it's like he didn't really understand just how serious it was, how on the rocks their marriage was. And so when he heard Kim ask for a divorce, it was like he realized, oh my goodness, I'm going to lose my family. And so he immediately kind of said, look, give me a chance. Let me prove to you that that was, I'm going through some stuff, but I will work on this. I'll make things better. And so it was kind of through this begging for forgiveness that it came up, this idea that like Steve really wanted to plan a big special trip for them. So this Valentine's Day was going to be the big thing. For the bulk of January and February, they're kind of figuring out what they're going to do. Are they going to stay together? And then again, it's like, okay, Steve's going to have this big thing on Valentine's Day. And so he began this big, getting ready for the trip. So Kim and Steve, they get in the car, and so that's the context for why they're going on this big trip. And Steve drives them, about an hour and a half, and Kim's done asking questions about where they're going. She's just taking it in, and Steve pulls off the highway after about an hour and a half, and they arrive in a place called Eastern Shores in Maryland. If you've ever been to the Eastern Shore, it's beautiful. It's like this peninsula of land where there's this beautiful bridge that connects over to Virginia. I hope that I'm remembering this correctly because I lived in the area. It's like a totally beautiful area with these unbelievable scenic views of the water. And so he pulls off the highway in Eastern Shores, and he begins going down this long winding road that kind of followed this peninsula. You got this amazing view of the water. And then at some point, after driving for 10 or so minutes, up ahead, Kim saw this unbelievable resort come into view. And so she understood, like, clearly this is where they're going. And so they pull into the parking lot, and Steve is like giddy with anticipation here. And he turns once he pulls the car into a spot and he parks the car. He turns to Kim and he's like, this is it, we're here. And it was the Harbortown Golf Resort, and it's this beautiful resort. Again, it's in this amazing place. And, Steve is looking at Kim, like waiting for her reaction. And Kim's kind of looking around at the beautifully manicured lawns and the beautiful buildings and all these people that are clearly having a wonderful time. And she's just so overcome with happiness. I mean, this is so cool. This is like exactly what she was hoping for. And so her and Steve, they hop out of the car, they grab each other's hands, and they make their way inside to go check in. And so they go in this beautiful building, and when they check in, they're handed, glasses of champagne, and as they're checking into their room, the concierge is like, oh, wow, you guys booked cottage number 506. Like, that's the best property of this entire resort. You guys got the best place. And so Kim's looking at Steve like, wow, you really pulled out all the stops here. And so they got their key cards and they went back to their car, and they actually had to drive a little ways farther away from the resort to get to cabin 506. And when they get there, it's a relatively small little cottage, but it was right on the water. It was like right at the end of this peninsula, amazing view. And they open it up, they go inside. There's a little wood stove right in the middle. There's a couple of queen size beds. There's a breakfast nook, and it just felt like this really cozy, amazing little romantic cabin. And also, when they walked in, Kim noticed there was a card sitting on the table inside of the cabin 506. And, first glance, it looked exactly like a wedding invitation. And so Kim sees the wedding invitation, or what looks like a wedding invitation, and she looks back at Steve like, what is this? And he kind of like, hey, check it out. And so Kim walked up and she grabbed what looked like the wedding invitation, and she opened it up, and sure enough, it was a wedding invitation, but it was a fake wedding invitation. Because what it really was an invitation to this show that was going to be going on at the resort that night. It was a dinner theater show where basically people eat a meal and watch a live performance at the same time. And a lot of times with these dinner theater shows, the audience plays a role in the show. Like the actors interact with you and pretend like you're part of it. And so she was realizing, Kim was, like, this is not just a run-of-the-mill, random one-night stay at some nice place and that was it. Steve clearly really took the time to identify specific things that Kim would really like. Kim is this super extrovert who loves being out there and doing stuff. Steve is not, yet here Steve was bringing her out to this amazing resort, and he's booked her for this cool dinner theater. And so Kim was just so excited. And so I would say the dinner theater show, it was called something, I forget the name of the show, but it was about a wedding, where the actors were putting on this wedding, and at some point the groom, who actually was a member of the mafia, and apparently he was threatening his bride to marry him. I'm sorry, he was forcing his bride to marry him by threatening his family. So that's like the context of the show, and the way the show goes is the audience eventually figures out, how the groom dies, because at some point the groom dies, and that's the mystery, and the audience figures it out. And so Kim is super excited about the show, and she's just so pumped about everything Steve's put together. And the show wasn't for a few hours, and so for the next couple of hours, Kim and Steve just hung out in Cottage 506. They drank the champagne, or really Steve drank the champagne because Kim thought it tasted cheap or something, so she didn't really touch the champagne. But they're just lounging, having a great time. And then it was time for the show. So they got dressed and they left Cottage 506. They went to the main resort and they went into this event hall where the dinner theater show is going to be. And there's all these round tables and all these other people that are there. And they sat down and it looks exactly like, a wedding reception. And before long, the actors and actresses came in and they, had their wedding party and they had the bride and the groom. And before long, Kim and other audience members are totally, a part of this thing. They're completely pretending to be a part of this wedding, like they're guests at this wedding. And then it was actually Kim and the person who was near her at her table who were the ones who ultimately figured out who had poisoned the groom. I think it was the mother who poisoned the groom. And so at that point, the show ended. But the salient point from this dinner theater show was, as it was going on, despite how much fun Kim was having, doing the show, the whole time she kept looking over at Steve, kind of looking for his reaction to the show. She wanted to see if he was enjoying what was going on, because remember, she's doing these extroverted things and she wants her husband to do them too. But every time she looked over at Steve, he just looked like, stone cold, not remotely interested, just kind of like gutting this thing out, not looking over at her. He just didn't seem like he was having a good time at all. In fact, he honestly seemed like he was actively having a bad time. And it actually did kind of upset Kim. It's like, dude, you brought me out here for this whole thing. At least pretend like you enjoyed it. But Kim's like, okay, I'm trying to make the best of this. We're trying to rekindle our relationship. She's thinking about all the other stuff that, Steve had done here for this trip. And so she thought, you know what? I'm not going to fight with him about the fact that he didn't seem into the show. And so after it was over, Kim instead said, hey, Steve, let's just go to the bar, get some beers, and go back and hang out in our cottage and have a nice night. And at this, Steve, his eyes lit up. This is the type of thing Steve was really excited about. And so the two of them, they went over to the bar. They got some beers in a bucket, and they went back to Cottage 506. They went inside, and Kim would turn to Steve, and she would say, hey, I'm going to go change into something comfortable. Wink, wink. Why don't you go lay down in the bed? I'll meet you in there in a second. And so Steve is like, great, and quietly. And so after Kim walks into the bedroom to go change, he turns and he locks the front door. So 3 hours after this point, after Steve has locked the front door and Kim has walked into the bedroom, a guy named Philip Parker, who was staying at the resort with his family, he was in the lobby of the main resort, and he overheard a commotion going on in the lobby. And so he ran into the lobby, and he heard someone saying there was a fire in one of the cottages, and he heard the number 506. And so instinctively, this guy, Philip, he decides to just go check it out himself. And so his cousin was with him. And so Philip and his cousin, they run out of the resort and they look in the direction of Cottage 506. And sure enough, they see there's like flames erupting from the windows. There's black, oily smoke coming up into the air. And clearly, no one has gone over there yet. There's no, fire department. There's no one over there. And so Phil and his cousin, they just start running over in the direction of this fire. And so they get over to Cottage 506, and they have no idea if there's people inside of this cottage. All they know is that there's fire here. And so they get to the front door, and they can't get the front door open. It's locked. They're calling out to see if anybody's inside. They're not hearing anything, and they're looking in the windows, but there's so much smoke they can't see anything. And so Phil and his cousin, they run around to the back of the cottage where there was where there were glass sliding doors. So they get around back, but the smoke inside the cabin was so extreme, like even though it was glass, they couldn't really see inside. The bedroom was right inside, but they couldn't see anything. And when Phil tried to open one of the sliding doors, it was locked. And so, in kind of a panic, they didn't know what to do, but Phil's cousin was like, hey, I'm going to go run back to the resort and get a fire extinguisher. You wait here. And so Phil's cousin takes off running. And right after his cousin was gone, Bill he's kind of standing there, not sure what to do. He's so worried there's somebody still inside. It was like in his haste, he and his cousin did not realize when they first went around to the back of the cabin that the sliding doors, there was actually two ways it opened. It either opened on this side or it opened on this side. And Phil and the cousin only checked this side. But if they had just looked at the other side, they would have seen that this side was not only unlocked, but it was slightly open, like a crack. In fact, smoke was coming out. But, high adrenaline, high panic, they didn't notice it. And so, Phil, he's by himself, the cousin's still gone. He's like, oh my God, should I just open this up and go in on my own? But he's like, I don't know what's in here. I don't know if there's a full-blown inferno or if the ceiling's going to come down. And he couldn't see in because the smoke was so bad. But he decided to just get down real low to see if maybe he could look in, because the smoke, it rises, that maybe there was a space where he could kind of look in and at least see where the fire was. And so he gets down on his hands and knees, and he looks through this crack in these sliding doors and through the glass. And sure enough, there's a couple inches of clearance of clear air inside of the bedroom. And as he's looking into the room, he immediately spots a person lying in the middle of this cabin. You can clearly see their feet. He has no idea if they're okay. There's still quite a bit of smoke, but he can see there is a person in there. Even though the cousin was not back yet, Phil just kind of acted on instinct. He opened up that sliding door, he got down on his hands and knees, and he began crawling into this blazing cabin. Now, as he's doing this, the smoke must have been overwhelming. He's coughing, he's gagging, he's doing his best not to panic. And he finally gets to this person's foot, and he starts shaking, thinking maybe I can just wake them up and they'll walk out on their own power. Because again, the smoke is becoming worse and worse. The fire, the heat, it's like super dangerous inside of here. But he can't get this person to wake up. And so Phil, again, on his hands and knees, he grabs this person's foot and begins dragging them out of the cabin. And it was really hard to do it. Like, he's panicking, he can barely get him out. And just then the cousin came back and saw, Phil is halfway inside the cabin pulling somebody out. And so the cousin got in there, and together they were able to pull this person out of the cabin. And when they were outside on the ground, Phil and the cousin got a look at them, and immediately it was clear that this person did not survive. Their face was basically gone from being burned away, as was their chest. It was basically a complete charred mess. So he discovers this person is deceased. It would turn out Steve really was planning something quite special for this weekend. However, he was not the only person who had big plans for this weekend. Here is what police say happened inside of cabin 506 after Kim walked into the room to go change into something nice, and after Steve had locked the front door. So Steve locks the front door, and he turns around, and Kim, she comes back out into the main sitting area, changed into something, sexy or whatever it is she had on, and she tells Steve, hey, come here, come into the bedroom. And so Steve follows her into the bedroom, and she tells him to get on the bed. So Steve gets on the bed, and he's thinking, great, my wife's going to come in here, we're going to reconnect. But as he's laying there, he sees Kim, and she gets something out of her bag, and then she turns around, and then what happened next happened so quickly that Steve likely had no idea that this was even happening. Like, he couldn't have processed what was happening. But what Kim grabbed was a syringe that contained something called succinyl choline. And it was a drug that she got from her work as a surgical technician that was used to basically keep people it kept people steady during surgery. It basically completely relaxes your body and your muscles, but too much of it can cause you to stop breathing. And once you take succinylcholine, the effects of this drug are nearly instantaneous. So Steve lays down in the bed, and his wife walks over and stabs him with this syringe full of a massive amount of succinylcholine and injected it into him. And so pretty much instantly, Steve is not dead, but he's totally paralyzed on this bed. He would have seen what his wife was doing probably for the next 60 seconds or so before he likely passed out. And Kim, after injecting her husband with succinylcholine, she got lighter fluid out of her bag, and she dumped it all over Steve's chest and his face. And then Steve's last thought, likely, or last thing he saw, was his wife striking a match or lighting a lighter and lighting his face on fire. And then after she lit Steve on fire, she just casually walked out the back sliding glass door, and she made her way to the main resort lobby, where she would start the commotion about how, I think there's a fire in cabin 506. And she apparently at first didn't say her husband was in there, but then eventually did throw out there that, I don't know if my husband's in there or not. And it was at that point that Phil, who's kind of overhearing this, and he's not seeing anybody go over there, that he ran out with his cousin and he got to cabin 506, and it was obviously Steve's body that he pulled out of the cabin. So with Kim, she never intended to give Steve a second chance. Truthfully, at the time that she had told Steve that she wanted a divorce, she was already carrying on a very intense affair with a much younger man who was in the Marine Corps. And I think her intent was to basically end it with Steve and go be with this guy. But around the time that Steve basically begged for forgiveness, Steve really meant it when he said he wanted to fix things. He genuinely felt like he had screwed this up and he wanted to make himself better and fix the marriage and all that. And so he really was being secretive about planning for this trip because he was trying to make this big surprise. He wanted this to be the perfect kind of like best vacation ever. The calls he was taking that he was hiding from Kim, those were calls to her friends to ask them questions like, what do you think Kim would really enjoy? Like, what are some activities that she would love to do? And he was like taking notes about the different activities that she would like dinner theater. He booked that because her friends had told him that that's something she would like to do. And then the other kind of heartbreaking thing is the other thing that Kim caught him doing in the few weeks leading up to their trip was he was writing a bunch in his notebook. And in addition to writing down the various things that he would learn from friends and family that Kim really wanted to do, he also would leave these totally heartbreaking journal entries about this effort by, to fix the marriage. And I'm gonna read, this is a direct quote from the book. This is his last entry, Steve's last entry in this book before they would go on this trip. He said, I'm looking forward to Valentine's weekend at Harbortown with Kim. She called twice today and said, I love you, without my saying it first. I was very happy. I love her. I believe I know what being in love really is. We've been married 9 years, but I feel like we just started dating. That was his final entry in his notebook before his wife killed him. And the reason she actually got caught is because shortly after she agreed to let Steve, rekindle their relationship and give it another go, she began incessantly telling her friends that she wanted to kill her husband. And the friends thought she was just joking. But when they found out Steve had been killed in this fire when they were away together, they were like, oh, she had something to do with that. And so they went and told the police, and ultimately she would be found guilty of killing her husband, and she was given a life sentence. So that is the end of the story. Pretty horrible. It is Valentine's Day themed, but my goodness, that is a tough one to swallow. So on that note, I'm going to shift to, I guess, comments here.
So do we want to tell the fans about that story when it goes live? So they don't go.
Oh yeah, so just so you know, that story, the one I just told you, will be going out this weekend on YouTube. So you got early access. You'll see the higher produced version of that this weekend on YouTube. Just as a heads up. All right, so because I can't see the chat, is there any comments we want to reference here before we go to the Q&A?
Yep, fans are asking for 1 or 2 like button jokes.
Oh man,
Either one of your favorite.
Favorite. The one that the one that I think is so dumb, that is a trademark for these like button gags, is I'm gonna say it wrong, but you'll get the gist. It was like, so if that's of interest to you, the next time you're having a really casual, just neighborhood squirt gun fight, you hit the like button to be a part of it. But instead of shooting the like button with water, Phil, you shoot them with hydrochloric acid. I thought that one was pretty good. And then there was another one where it was like, offer to give the like button a ride home from school or whatever. But then when they get in the car, lock the doors, roll the windows up, begin chain smoking cigarettes and blaring death metal the entire time, and then drop them off 10 miles away from where they live. So I think those are the two that come to mind.
Oh, we got a cool comment in the chat.
Sweet.
Thank you for getting me through my long, boring chemo treatments, Mrballen.
Oh, wow.
It's seriously been a huge help. Almost finished with them. It's working so far.
Well, number one, thank you. It's wonderful to read comments like that, just to feel like, this content is transcending just being entertainment. I think, with the work with the foundation, that feels like there's real purpose there. And then also, frankly, hearing about how this content has brought people together, has provided people, necessary support and a necessary distraction in difficult times. That's great to hear that. Stay strong. Keep listening to those videos when you're going through treatment, and just know the whole strange, dark, and mysterious community is right there with you, rooting for you.
This one's a little bit on the funny side.
Okay.
Your daughters ever braid your hair?
No, but my daughters, who may be listening to this, I don't know if it's past their bedtime. No, it's 7. I doubt they're watching this. Maybe my wife is watching this. I don't know. But my daughters, they actually braid my wife's hair. They'll do like these ridiculous, like 57 clips and ties and everything in her hair, and Amanda will just sit there for like hours and just peacefully let her kids just like do that to her hair. But I gotta be honest, I'm annoying, and I'm like, nah, I don't want to do that. I'm not doing that. Sorry. I got this maid to take care of.
All right, another question from the crowd. How many hats do you own?
Oh man. But the thing is I'm like really picky about my hats, and I think it's like I'm kind of OCD about the way they fit. They need to be, if it's even marginally too tight, and that's like you kind of get caught between, do you do 2 little things sticking out or 3? And if it's a little bit too tight or a little bit too loose, can't do it. I don't care how cool the hat looks. It needs to be perfect, because I wear a hat so much, I'll get a headache if it's a little bit too tight. So pretty intense with the fitting. And so I have so many hats, probably like 10, that are like brand new that I thought I was going to love, but I ended up just kind of retiring them because I discovered they were slightly too tight or slightly too hard, too loose. But I got a bunch. But I have like 2 or 3 that kind of rotate. I got the Mrballen, like Ballin Studios hat, of course. I got this one, which I just thought went better with this because it's white. And then I got, I think, one other that's maybe like a Carhartt one or something. So there you go. But I got a bunch. Only use a few though. I got like 1 trillion flannels, if that was the next question.
Yeah, it's that last year, I think.
I got a whole closet that's just flannels.
All right, we got a question from Mr. Kibble. Hey, Mr. Ballin, I have a question for you. What story has stuck with you the most? And is it something that really gave you the creeps and you couldn't stop thinking about it?
All right, so what is the story that has stuck with me the most? The one that sticks with me the most, well, actually, I'll mix it up, because I used one about a woman named Geraldine Largay last Ballentine's Day. It's about this, I'm not going to get into it, but this is the high level. She was this wonderful hiker who got lost hiking, and, she ended up passing away because she was never found, even though she was only like a mile away from the trail. And it was just kind of heartbreaking to read her journal entries as she slowly realized help wasn't coming and she was going to die. And so her journal entries contained all these messages to her kids and to her husband that were just very reassuring for them. This is somebody who's about to die, and all she cares about is her family and telling them it's going to be okay. I'm okay with this, that kind of thing. And I think my mom is actually listening to this live stream. But Mom, the story reminded me of you. The woman reminded me a lot of you, and it was just painful to imagine you in that situation. And so that story just made it feel super real, and that one really hit me. But that was last Valentine's Day. This one, I would say the one that is like, oh man, just hard to even stomach, is the one about the Kursk submarine. I'm forgetting. Maybe somebody can link it in the chat, in the comments. But there's a story about the Russian submarine called the Kursk. The short version is this submarine sinks, but when it sinks, it doesn't fully flood. However, it takes too long to get the submarine out of the ocean before it fully floods. And the people that get trapped, that are still alive on the submarine, when it's on the ocean floor and it's slowly flooding, they become aware of the fact that help will not arrive before we drown. And it's like this, they're in this thing called compartment number 9. So there's different compartments of the submarine, 1 through 9, and each one was able to be sealed, like airtight, so you could keep it from flooding. And they locked all the other compartments, and they were in the 9th compartment, but there was a break in the wall itself, so they couldn't possibly seal the 9th one. And so slowly they're watching as like a very small hole was filling in this massive compartment with water, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. And so there was I think there was like 11, 12, 13, something like that, men that were still in compartment number 9, fully aware this was happening. And they began, at least a few of them began writing notes to their family that were found when the submarine was recovered. And man, it's hard to even imagine what that was like. I mean, you're at the bottom of the ocean, you're stuck in a pitch black compartment inside of the submarine. You know it's only a matter of time before it floods and you drown. And on top of that, periodically there were all these stray wires that were kind of out and about, or dangling down from the ceiling, like sparking. And periodically, the fumes that would come into the compartment would catch on fire. And so there would be these flash fires inside of the remaining space, inside of compartment 9, which obviously burned the people who were in there, and it sucked up a lot of the oxygen, the limited oxygen that was still there. And so it's like periodically they're getting burned by fires, and that's their only light source. And then it's like this one guy, I'm forgetting his name. It's the main character of the story. He actually details like practically the last few minutes before the water killed him. And it's just like, how could you even imagine being in that position, just waiting to drown? So it's just, claustrophobia stories have always been ones that have stood out to me, because it's a level of, it's something that humans are fundamentally terrified of being trapped in a small space. Or I should say, we're fundamentally scared of being trapped in a small space that is flooding or getting smaller or something like that. I mean, that's like a worst fear. So the name of the YouTube video, I'm almost positive, is "This Man is About to Live a Nightmare." And it's about the Kursk submarine disaster. I would also say that as a final point to that, it was completely botched by the Russian military. They could have been saved. I think it was possible, but they botched it, which makes it even more heartbreaking. So that would be the one that sticks to me right now.
All right, so we'll do 4 more questions.
Sweet.
Okay. Question: do you feel more comfortable with live in-person shows after doing your first one? Because I know it was a fear of yours.
Yeah. Well, I think that I'd be lying if I didn't say that doing live stuff, I'm not at a point where I do it so often that it's completely natural. But I do think that just doing live stuff is the only way you get more comfortable at them. So if I compared how I felt a year ago, like doing this literal event, Valentine's Day last year, to now, I mean, now, even if I seem a bit nervous here and there, I actually feel really good. I like doing this stuff. And, you know, speaking live is something I've always wanted to do. It's just been a thing I wanted to do, but it's terrified me. And having done that one live show in person at the Paramount Theater in Austin back in October of last year, that changed me in a way that I think only doing that could. It showed me that I can do like legitimate, real speaking engagements and be composed and actually do the thing that I do and not fall apart. Which, by the way, I think that most people, that's the experience they would have too. The hard part is just committing to doing it. That's where people fall short. A lot of times it's the people that don't try stuff that have regrets or that don't succeed. It's very rarely the people that are like, oh yeah, I'm going to go legitimately try to accomplish my dreams, that then fall short. Like those are the people that typically find happiness and fulfillment because they're taking those chances. So I think for me, just saying yes to doing the live show and then following through with it gave me an enormous amount of confidence and showed me that I can do this. So definitely helped.
All right, next one's going to be from Finn.
Finny.
What's your favorite part of your YouTube journey as Mrballen?
Oh, that's actually a good question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of things about it. So I'll give you a little behind the scenes, I suppose. For those who don't know how this kind of came to be, I posted my first ever strange, dark, and mysterious story. It was about the Dyatlov Pass, which is the 9 Russian hikers in the 50s who go missing in the mountains, and they're discovered, and their bodies are radioactive, and they're all, dead in weird positions, and there's some strangeness around their campsite. It's like this big mystery that, technically was solved, but there's a lot of, intrigue around the story. And so I post that story, a 60-second version of it, on TikTok back in very early 2020. And I was at this water park in Pennsylvania with my family, and it's an indoor water park. And I create this little TikTok, which you can go on my TikTok and find it. It's not a very well done story. Now I would never put it out because it's so confusing the way I structured it. But either way, I put it out, but then I couldn't have my phone in the water park because I didn't have a way to keep it from getting wet. So I just left it in the room and I went to the water park. And then when I came back, I grabbed my phone and at this point, I had never really gone viral anywhere on the internet before. I had attempted to, I guess, go viral, although I wouldn't really call it what I was doing, but I had attempted to make content prior to this about, my military experience. I was dabbling with some sketch comedy, which was super cringe, and a bunch of other stuff that just wasn't working. But I get back to my room at this water park place we were at, which was actually, I think it was Kalahari. For those who know about Kalahari, shout out to you. It's a good place. My phone was like malfunctioning because it was getting so many notifications from TikTok because it had 5 million plus views on this TikTok about the Dyatlov Pass. And I remember looking at it and actually thinking like there's something wrong with the app, with my phone. This is not actually what's happening. It was cool and I screenshotted it immediately, but I'm like, this is not real. But then sure enough, like I was watching it and I'm like, wait a minute. I called my wife over and I'm like, dude, Amanda, like this has like millions and millions of views. And I didn't even know what to do with it. It was like so unexpected. But the kind of like Navy SEAL side of me, if you will, came out. To become a Navy SEAL, a big part of it is just like grit and determination and suffering for long periods of time. And so SEALs, or I should say a lot of military programs, they like teach you how to suffer for a long period of time. And so that's something I'm really good at doing. I'm good at like doing hard stuff for long periods of time. And I just saw this one viral video as like this big opportunity for something. I didn't know what it was going to be. I didn't think, oh, here's my path to becoming Mrballen on YouTube and podcast. It was more like, clearly, I've struck a note here. Let's do this again. And so for 30 straight days following this TikTok, I non-stop made videos on TikTok, which seems like that might be easy. It's not. I was doing 3 videos a day. It took me all day to make these videos, and I was posting them on TikTok over and over and over again, all strange, dark, and mysterious. And they worked. I just followed the kind of format that I had for the first one and just began doing other ones. And I think I should also say that I'm a huge fan myself of the strange, dark, and mysterious. So researching these topics and telling these stories was like something I wanted to do. And so I made all these TikToks and it just really took off. And months later, I have this 7 million follower account on TikTok when TikTok was really becoming a mainstream thing. So I'm one of the better known people on TikTok as TikTok is kind of coming into its maturity. And so what that did is it just gave me an audience that is just really just luck and timing. I had suddenly, it's like the pandemic, everybody's on their phone, and I'm like the one, random grown man telling stories on an app that's full of 18-year-old kids dancing. And so I really stood out on TikTok. And again, I didn't know what it was going to be. I just kept making content. I loved making the type of content I was making. It's what I like to do. And then I wound up transitioning to YouTube because I had this like temporary ban on TikTok. It was like a couple days where I suddenly couldn't post after months and months of it. And so I went to YouTube and, YouTube really took off. I guess the reason I'm telling you all this is because this sounds so like corny in a way, but I never intended to become Mrballen. I never intended to be like a creator. It's awkward for me even now to think of myself as a creator. Now, I definitely was trying to use social media, but never would I think this would happen. And so I think that, as the Mrballen thing has progressed and it's gone from being this fleeting idea and like a cool opportunity for something to a full-blown business that has strategy and a 5-year plan and a 10-year plan, and we have strategic partners, we have all this stuff. I still find myself like doing the whole pinch me, like I can't believe this is actually what I'm doing. And I think that I think it actually is what allows me to be pretty authentic with the way I present myself, because dude, I didn't think this was going to happen. I still don't even understand how this happened. Like I find people all the time on the internet that are like incredible storytellers. And I reach out to those people and I'm like, keep going, because lightning can strike and you are incredible. Keep it going. It happened to me. It can happen to you. But I mean, a lot of it, I'm like in awe of like, I was at I go out and people recognize me, and I can tell you that is one of the strangest things you'll ever have happen to you. It's never happened to you. You go out and people come up to you. It doesn't happen a lot, but when they come up to you, it's like they really know you, but you don't really know them, and it's this bizarre like you. It's just it's surreal, and it's. I think that if I was to boil it down, the one thing that I'm really really proud of is this is not just let's capitalize and build a business. That's not what this is. This is like I love telling stories, and I in particular love telling strange, dark, and mysterious stories. That is actually like a life passion. Storytelling and strange, dark, and mysterious. And I get to do that professionally, and I get to be the one that with my team, we get to donate millions of dollars to the people that I specifically have a vested interest in, the victims of violent crime and their families. So to get to do the thing you love to do, that I feel like in many ways I was like literally born to do, and give back in a really profound and meaningful way is unbelievable. And then on top of that, I don't know how it happened, but you all are like so kind and so like inclusive. I mean, I certainly get hate periodically, but for the most part, I feel like I have this amazing group of people that like have my back. Like that doesn't happen on the internet. I don't know how it happened for us, but you all are just super cool, and you decided that you're going to make a non-toxic community here, and it's incredible. Like I feel so lucky. I feel so like it's just my life is weird. It's awesome. It's weird. I'm so proud, so happy, and I can't thank you all enough for making this a thing. I don't know how it happened, but it happened, and I hope you can see that I really mean it. I'm so happy. So thank you all so much. That was a very rambly answer, but there you go.
Yeah, that was beautiful, dude.
Hey, there you go, off the cuff.
All right, so this one I'm gonna have to. We'll leave on this one.
Okay.
This one's a good one. I think this might be helpful for quite a few. So Lily asks, you successfully changed careers several times.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give someone who's considering to do the same but not quite sure how to take the leap?
Do it. That's all the advice you need. I mean, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, no. To simplify, I'm gonna get intense in this one because this is something I really care about. If there's one thing I can say for sure, is that taking risks in life, generally speaking, is worth it. Even when you F stuff up in the process and you completely blow up the thing you're trying to do, you don't regret taking chances if it's towards the thing you want to do, or if it's just towards the thing you think you want to do. And then you end up trying it and you hate it. Fine. You ruled that out. If you had never tried it, you wouldn't have known. And it's like, dude, what blows my mind is there are so many people, and I'm not throwing shade at anybody here. It's the way society works. There are so many people that are being given advice from all these people in their life, their parents, their friends, their loved ones, social media. I mean, everything that's practically screaming at them like, you got to go to college, you got to get a degree, you got to get a good job. That's success. Anything else is not. But meanwhile, you have all these examples everywhere of people not doing that and chasing down their highly niche dreams, being infinitely more happy, successful, having more opportunities because they didn't do what everybody else did. Now, there's nothing wrong with going the traditional path. Nothing. But for the people that are thinking about pursuing something outside the box, something entrepreneurial, there is only one thing you can do. And it is just fucking do it. I'm sorry I swore, but that's the truth. If you don't do it, you're going to regret it. If you do it and you fail, you're not going to regret it. When I took the stage last year to do my live event in front of 1,300 people, I was terrified. Coming into that, I was like, my career is literally on the line because I'm like this big storyteller. And if I go up there and fail, if I freeze up or if I botch a story on my first live performance, don't you think that sets me up for a lot of criticism about, oh, he must just edit his videos a certain way. He can't do it live. He's not really a storyteller. Going through my head, guess what I still did? I took the stage. Guess how it went? Really well. I wouldn't have known unless I was willing to take the risk. So if you're thinking about doing something, just do it. Who cares what happens? If it goes horribly, who cares? Regret is the worst thing. You don't want regret. Take the chance in your life. I have taken several enormous bets that could have gone horribly in my life. And it's only because I was willing to take them that they paid off. So many people had opportunities to take risks that didn't, and they spent the rest of their lives convincing themselves why it was the right decision not to take that risk. But then at some point, you run out of the opportunity to take that risk. You have passed the opportunity, and now it's too late. And those are the people that turn around and say to the younger generation, don't do what I did, take that chance, take that risk, because you're going to regret it if you don't. So for anybody thinking about doing something outside of the box, don't listen to 99.9% of the people around you, because they're not doing anything entrepreneurial. You got to be your own person and seek out the thing you want to do all on your own in order to be successful, in order to be fulfilled. So just do it. Like, just do it. Don't take other people's advice. Well, take mine, but don't take anybody else's advice, and just do it. Boom.
That's knowledge right there, dude. I think it's a wrap.
Sweet. Woo. So hey, Drew, do you want to step in now and close the chapter here? Because I feel like I didn't prep myself for how I would end this as well as I should have.
So if he jumps in, it'll kill our screen share. So
Okay.
I'm here.
That it'll kill the screen share. So I'm going to make sure I say my piece. Thank you all so much for being here for this. I'm not going to make the official announcement right now, but take this as a pretty close to official announcement. There might be a Strange, Dark, and Mysterious tour at the end of this year that you might want to keep an eye out for in terms of dates, locations, tickets, that kind of thing. Just saying, it might happen. It might not. We'll see. We'll see. Probably will. So definitely keep your eye out for that. But seriously, thank you all so much for making this event so much fun, for being fans of the Strange, Dark, and Mysterious. Again, thank you to the mods and the founders and the event teams and the community helpers and all you other fans of the Strange, Dark, and Mysterious. I love you all so much. Happy Valentine's Day, and go to shopmrballen.com, get your Valentine's Day merch, and go check out the Mr. Ballen podcast. It's available everywhere for free. Once again, as of this weekend, go check it out. Over to you, Drew. Thank you very much. Happy Valentine's Day. I hope my exit is happening. Otherwise, I'm just awkwardly standing here.
Okay. I just kicked Mr. Ballen off the stage. What an amazing show. Can everyone hear me okay? I got a few things I want to talk to you about and a few things that we can do together. Everyone hear me okay? Hi, everybody. Awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for coming out tonight. We are not done. If you set some time aside this evening to hang out with the community, we've got a few things lined up that we can get into for a little after party. But I wanted to break down what this place is. If you noticed throughout this event, you might have been chatting, you might have been dropping some gifts, some emotes, some stickers. If you have access to stickers, which I'm sure you do, you've got the Ballentine sticker that you can share here on Discord. You have been leveling up. So have you all been noticed that you have been getting notifications for new levels in the leveling system? Once we unlock the rest of the server, based off of your level on the server, you gain more access to more of the community. You get more roles, you get higher role icons in the server. And today, we had our first community member who received a follow back from Mr. Ballen himself on Instagram for reaching level 75, which is amazing. So that was really exciting to see. We've got some amazing dedicated members hanging out with us every day. So that was really, really special. But what I would love for you guys all to do, if you haven't yet, introduce yourself. There's an intros channel on the server where you can go introduce yourself and share things about you. Let us know more about how you found Mr. Ballen, what brought you out to this community. And then the second thing, I want to share my screen here. Well, one second, I'm going to come back on stage. I want to share my, I can't, it won't let me share my screen. I'm not sure why it won't let me share my screen, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the chat for a second, and we are going to, I'm going to drop a link to where you can go shop all of the amazing merch that drop today. So what we're going to do is we're going to pause the chat for 1 second. And if you have access to the links, please start sharing them in the chat. But I want to direct everyone to where the merch is available for an exclusive period of time. And so right now the chat is paused, and I'm dropping a link in the chat. Show some love to this, guys. If you haven't explored this yet, this is where you can go buy all of the exclusive merch that just dropped today for the event. and this is going to be up until the 21st. I wish I could share my screen with you guys and show you what we have going on here, but it's all such amazing designs. I'm going to be grabbing 2 hoodies because we've got 2 hoodies that have 2 different designs on them. One being this, and the second one representing this sticker as well. Let's see here. Let me find the best way that I can share my screen with you all. Oh, here we go. It'll let me do it. Amazing. Check us out, everybody. I'm going live. We are live. Here is the shop. So this is where you can go shop. I shared that link in chat. We've got a few things available for purchase right now. Limited quantity. So I'm going to back this up real quick and show you the few items that are new products that just dropped today. We've got an amazing Skeleton Hands sweatshirt. We also have one of 2 different hoodies that you can purchase just to celebrate the community. This is an annual celebration of you all for coming out, for being here. These are so comfortable. This is one of my favorites right here. And then we also have 2 different kinds of t-shirts on top of everything else that the store has. So this is your first time seeing the store. There are a handful of things that you can explore through apparel and then accessories. But look, we're just talking about, oh wait, here's the pin. I need to get the pin. I don't have the pin. I saw someone in chat ask the question, be like, how much would it take to get version 1 of the pin? I think that's so funny, which is we're going to have to figure out a way to get Mrballen to send us his first pin. All right, I'm opening up the chat now to you all. So if you have questions about the merch, feel free to drop it in chat so I can answer anything that you guys might have. Let me know if you guys picked anything up. Let me know what you picked up because after the merch is delivered, we actually have a place on the server that you can share photos of what you purchased, which is amazing. And so we have a handful of different community members that have been posting in the merch gallery channel. And if you go into that, you can see just even there's some dogs in here rocking some stuff, which is so funny. But there's a handful of pins and a variety of things. But yeah, this is the pin. I'm gonna go back here and show this one more time, just so there's no confusion. My goal here is just to make this as easy as possible for everyone here. So this is the storefront. Are there any questions that I can help here before I move on to something else? I don't see any questions. Here we go. Will you make any Seagull Lung merch? I'm not in charge of what comes onto this website, but my goal here is just to help you navigate it so you guys are, you have all the answers. But yeah, the website name is right here. I'm going to drop it in chat one more time. Okay, amazing. And now here, I saw Lily comment this earlier, guys. Did you guys love having the community together tonight? I hope you did as much as I did. We do these every week where we have different community members come together and watch different kinds of content. I saw a question about international shipping. We do. Go check out the store. It'll have more details and information about it. But look, this is my favorite thing to do, is to bring everyone together to experience different things that we have on the server and within the community. So what I'm going to screen share now is I'm going to screen share the Discord so you can see something specific, which is going to look kind of like it's a little bit of Inception here, okay? So just bear with me. Right here, look at this. This is our new event. If we can have some of our moderators drop a link to this event in the chat, this is happening next week. If you didn't get a chance to hear this, the podcast is now available for free wherever you get your podcasts. And so if you go navigate over to the events tab and you click on this and sign up for this event. Oh, is it not popping up? Do you guys see what I'm talking about? Can you see my screen? Does it show you the banner? I think it does. Yes, it does. Okay, great. If you sign up for this, you'll be notified. This is going to be a weekly reoccurring event to bring everyone together to hang out and spend time together. Look at that. We have 300 people signed up. That's amazing. I'm going to pause the chat here, and I'll make it a lot easier for you to find, okay? My goal here, again, is just to make all of this as easy as possible. But our goal, on top of everything, is to find ways to bring you all out every week to connect with people who have like-minded interests. Okay, so I'm going to pause all of the messages in chat, and I'm going to send this one more time, and we're going to see how high we can get this RSVP, because I want to see you guys back in here next week. And we might have some more surprises in store, too, if you do come out to that event. Here we go. I'm going to drop a link right now. So right now, we currently have 470 people signed up for next week's event. Let's see if we can get that up to 500. You guys are amazing. Oh my gosh, do you see this climbing? This is shooting up. Oh my, this is crazy. if you were all in the server this past week, everyone was spamming this link because we were trying to get people to show up to the event tonight. And look how everyone's rallying together to come out next week for an exclusive to a listening party of one of the episodes in the catalog, which is so cool. So we're probably gonna cross 1,000. That's amazing. So I'll see 1,000 of you guys next week for that event. Now the last thing, what I wanted to do here is we've actually put together a trivia night for you all to test your knowledge of the strange, dark, and mysterious. We have a fun little would you rather game as well. I'm going to open up the chat and I'm going to gauge and just see what you guys are all feeling right now. And I know a lot of you all can't stay here for the whole show, for the whole after party, but if you would rather do would you rather or do like a trivia to test your knowledge of how much of the strange, dark, and mysterious world that you know, let me know which one you prefer, and I'll spin that up and get that on the screen here for you all. Let's enable your message perms. I think we've got over 1,000 people signed up, which is amazing. And let's see what everyone's feeling, and then I'll go ahead and screen share and get right into it. Boom. You guys should all be able to send some messages right now. It's open. Nice. Nice. Look at us. Okay, I'm trying to keep up with the chat here. We got a lot going on. I wish I could just do this like an auctioneer, but no, we got trivia or would you rather. So I'm seeing a lot of would you rather. Okay, we're gonna have to go with would you rather first. And once one of our events team members is present, we're gonna bring them up on the stage because we love to give recognition where it's due. This server would not have been able to be possible without community helpers, moderators, events team members, people coming together who are lurkers, who just offer their, advice in community polling, whatever it may be. But if you feel like you have ideas, you have strong opinions that you think could be great when we have so many people coming together like this, just know that there is a channel at the very bottom of the Discord called Help. Now, if you go to that Help channel, you might be able to drop some suggestions or ideas that you might have for the server. This is the one time that we're going to do this where we just take in everyone's ideas. But yeah, head down there after this stream and drop some ideas in chat, and we want to make sure that we curate the best experience possible for you. So let me spin up this would you rather game. This is going to be fun. Give me 2 seconds and we'll get this up for you. Okay. Now I got to find a way to present this so you guys don't see what's coming next. Boom. Okay, here we go. Now just don't mind the graphics, please. We've done our best here to create an experience for you. Okay, so this is screen 2. Should be good. Do you guys see my screen? Would you rather for the Ballentine's Day 2024 event? Can you guys all see this? All right, so there's no right answers here, right? This is just how we get to know you. Like, who is in the audience? How, what interests you? What are you scared of? So as we go through this, think through it about just you and what sounds better, okay? So let's go over to the next slide. Boom. Can you guys all see this? Would you rather well, I'll let you guys go ahead and read it because I feel like I'm going to destroy some of the pronunciation here. But we have, is it Nahanni Valley, the Valley of the Headless Men for a week, or camp with a stalker in Bell's Canyon for a week? Now, we do have some events team members that put this together. They're going to be joining us here in a few seconds. Everyone's got lives outside of the community here. So they'll be jumping back on here with us in a few seconds. So I see actually a lot of Bell's Canyon. How do you get to Bell's Canyon? I feel like if you keep asking that question, the answer will will reveal itself. Okay, let's move to another one. Would you rather? Now, this is where something I can relate to. Would you rather go cave exploring or cave diving? Would you rather go cave exploring or cave diving? I don't think a single person has put cave diving down in chat, actually, which is so interesting because to me, honestly, I would never go cave exploring. For some reason, for me, I feel like cave exploring opens up so many possibilities of getting lost and turned around. But for cave diving, for some reason, I feel like it's a little bit easier to navigate and get yourself out. I don't know. Am I crazy? I might be crazy. Here's another one. Would you rather Be stranded on an island with a Komodo dragon or a giant coconut crab? None of them. Get me off the island. I feel like people are still saying Bell's Canyon. What's going on? Guys, we're on an island right now. We're on the island. We're not in Bell's Canyon anymore. What are we doing? Okay, here we go. Would you rather be stuck on a deserted island like the survivors in Mrballen's podcast, The Island Has a Dark Secret, or lost in the wilderness like the family in Mrballen's Vacations from Hell? I'm cracking up because I feel like there might be a slight delay. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay, next one. Oh no. Oh no. We've entered alien talk, alien category. Would you rather become one of the missing 411 or be abducted by aliens? Honestly, I'll take aliens. I'm trying to understand what's going on in the world. Give me aliens for 500, please. I think a lot of people are also writing aliens. All right. Would you rather visit Skinwalker Ranch? I'm going to butcher this one. Or cross the river infested with crocodiles? I still can't believe how many people signed up for our event next week. It's amazing. 1,100 people. I'm going to see 1,100 of y'all next week for a podcast listening session. Would you rather spend a night alone in a haunted forest or spend a night in a haunted mansion with a known ghost? Okay, so they're both haunted. The question here is, do you want to be in a house that you can't get out of, or do you want to be in the woods? That's probably going to seem like the woods just goes on forever because you're never going to stop running. I would say woods. I for me, claustrophobia in a mansion, that doesn't sit well with me. I think are you all with me, guys? Are we all in agreement that we'd rather be in the forest? Come on, rally behind the forest. Getting a lot of no. Would you rather have reoccurring episodes of sleep paralysis where you're trapped in a waking nightmare, or endure the harrowing experience of the Russian sleep experiment? Oh no. These all sound terrible. I don't know. The chat is breaking. I think the chat is broken, a little broken. Let me see if I can turn off the... No, I don't know what's going on. Okay, there we go. Everyone's catching up, I think. So we're saying sleep paralysis on this one? I think we're saying sleep paralysis on this one. Would you rather find yourself in a situation where survival leads you to cannibalism? Nope. Or be the one who becomes a victim of cannibalism? No. Okay. Either you find yourself in a situation where survival leads you to cannibalism, or you're the one that becomes the victim of cannibalism. Oh my gosh. We're going to have to skip this one. Oh my gosh. Okay, here we go. Would you rather encounter a demon like in the Capitol Theater haunting, or Palmyra, am I saying that right? Encounter the Palmyra wolves that terrorize the Martin family? Dun, dun, dun. Which one? You have an option between two. I think we're going to have to go with Capitol Theater haunting on this one. Would you rather... Okay, here we go. This is where it gets in. I love these graphics. These make my brain understand what's happening. Would you rather be stuck on a boat with a psychotic killer on the loose, or stay in a cabin where a ghost visits you nightly, making its presence known in eerie ways? Okay, well, we know Mrballen went through a very similar experience. Would you rather be stuck on a boat with a psychotic killer on the loose? Oh man. I'm gonna have to take the cabin. enough room on a small boat like that. If we're looking at the image in this to the left and we're hanging out in this little boat, I don't think that's enough room. I would try and swim away. I think I see a lot of people saying boats as well. Okay, at least we're on the same page. Would you rather be harassed by an unseen presence in the trees or encounter a hungry mountain lion while hiking solo? Hungry mountain lion. I think Katie said a hungry mountain lion. Yeah, no, Gamato said a hungry mountain lion. I also agree with the mountain lion. I think mountain lion's the way to go because you actually don't know what the mountain lion's going to do. I feel like you can tame it. You know, they say like, what is it? 5% of all people think that they can fight a bear. I could fight a hungry mountain lion. Right, guys? I think we're all together on this one. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Would you rather fall into a deathly hot glass factory furnace? Oh my gosh. Or be exposed to the highest radiation levels in history? Okay. Either way, we're dead. We're dead either way. But do you want to fall into a furnace or be exposed to radiation? I don't know. I think we're going to have to go with furnace. No, radiation. Radiation. You're crazy. Who called me crazy? You're crazy. Would you rather come face to face with a giant creature like is it Kandahar giant or have a terrifying encounter with Bigfoot in the remote woods? I think we're going to need some images of what this giant looks like if we start comparing it to Bigfoot before we make a decision, at least. I feel like the chat's broken. I think we broke the chat. I think we've broken the chat. There were some issues that were going on earlier when I was trying to send messages in the waiting room. But I think also, by the way, thank you everyone who's boosted the server. Thank you so much to all of you who have boosted the server. I see a ton of your intros still coming in. We've had over 120 intros made during the event on the server. I think we've got even a couple hundred more have reached level 1, which is amazing. And don't forget, you all are a part of an adventure channel. So we've got different people in chat. If you're part of Team Mysterious, you're in purple. If you're part of, Team Dark, you're in blue. If you're part of Team Strange, you're in orange. You chose these when you joined the community, and so you will all have a private Discord chat for different conversations about the strange, dark, or mysterious, which is nice. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop streaming this. Let's go play some trivia. I'm curious to see your level of knowledge when it comes to Mrballen. Who here knows and watches the most content of Mrballen? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here and we are going to reset the chat because I feel like we're breaking the chat a little bit. I'm going to put a slow mode on. Turn the slow mode off. Boom. That might fix it. Okay, we've got Val in the chat, which is amazing. So Val, do me a favor and raise your hand, and I'll bring you up on stage. Amazing. We're bringing up one of our amazing events team members and moderators within the server, who I got a chance to meet at the in-person live show in Austin. What's up? What's going on, Val?
Hey, I'm so happy to be here with you guys. So much fun.
Can everyone hear Val okay? I think the chat's a little broken because I feel like we're still getting messages about like the answers.
Oh, funny. It's probably like.
Do you see this? Do you see the answers? They're like.
Yeah, it's like cabin, dragon, aliens, wolves.
It's so funny. Like the chat is completely broken. So I guess this is just gonna have to. People are just gonna have to play this on their own terms. But yeah, if you wanna go ahead and dive into one of the trivia presentations, that would be amazing. But I just want to reiterate, guys, Val does a lot for the community. It was nice to hear Mrballen shout out some of the community members who've been building this with us. But Val dips in between the events team and the moderation team. And so if anyone here ever wants to get involved and take on a higher elevated role in the community, once you reach level 20 on the server, you can apply to be a community helper. And then once you apply to be a community helper, we can pull you to be a moderator, which is amazing.
Yeah, cool beans. I'm happy to be here. It's crazy. And I see a lot of people in well now we call it, what is it? The waiting, whatever we call it. But usually like our general, I've noticed a whole lot of people on here loving to help. I think it is good. I feel like it's been really good vibes lately and everybody's trying to help in the community. So I feel like everybody's like a helper. All right, did you need me to share my screen? And what are we doing? Can you all hear me?
It's been so fun.
No.
Shout out to everyone here. You guys have just yes. I can hear you. Can you hear me? Hello.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah. I think it's just the chat's broken. We're gonna have to put on slow mode or something.
Okay.
Let's fix the chat. They're still typing in things that happened like an hour ago or 20 minutes ago. Here. Do that. We'll have to see how that goes. But yeah, dude, if you want to go ahead and screen share, we can just get into the trivia and see if people are able to chat with us.
All right, let me make sure it works. Did I do it? I don't know if I did it. Did it? Is it doing?
Let me check. You not yet. No, you have not screen shared yet.
I said go live and then it doesn't do anything.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's because I'm screen sharing. Oh, wait, no, I'm not.
Oh.
Maybe no, press share screen.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, and then choose which one you want to screen and then just press go live. That didn't work.
No.
I wonder if we've broken it because we were able to make it through the whole live show, which was amazing. I think here now, I think we're struggling a little bit with the chat and the video feature.
Correct. Yeah, yeah, I have it up and set like it would I would go to that part where it says screen share and then I would see it pop there and I go live and then it just disappears. Well, that's a bummer. Well, yours works. Could you pop yours back and see if it worked for
I
you?
can. Yes, of course. Let's turn this on. I'm going to go find just one of the two trivias. Dun, dun, dun. How about quiz one? Start with quiz one?
Yeah, that sounds good.
All right. All right, everyone. I feel like the chat's still completely broken, but we'll just keep the party rocking.
Okay. Well, I don't actually see yours, so if yours popped up, I don't see it.
The chat is right there, the screen.
Okay.
Okay. So what we'll do here is if we can get this working, we'll go ahead and just move on and we'll play some trivia for 30 seconds. So how to play. Read the questions on the screen and write your answer in the chat. Write down your answer somewhere and keep score. Count up all your points and see how well you know everything, Mr. Ballin. But don't cheat. What's the point of a quiz if you look for the answers? So I'll hand it over to you, Val.
When was Mrballen born? Yeah, if you have noticed, I've got my game show host voice going on now, okay? I got to get in the mood here. So, is it A, 1984, B, 1988, C, 1982, or D, 1983? You know he's an 80s baby based on the choices. What is the answer?
People, some of the chats are getting through, but you've got 0. Okay, so here comes the answer.
It is 1988. Awesome. And for those of you who don't know, today is my birthday and I'm 1986. So we're like 2 years difference in age.
Happy birthday. All right.
In which U.S. state did Mr. Ballin grow up? Was it A, Pennsylvania, B, Texas, C, Massachusetts, or D, Oregon? And I believe he was talking about it a little bit today, actually. So were you paying attention today during the live storytelling?
Got 3 seconds. And
time is
boom.
up. It is C, Massachusetts. Whoop, whoop. I see some people who had
Val,
right.
a little ooh, ooh.
Yes. Okay, I'm getting party moves, I swear. Okay, how many sisters does Mr. Ballin have? Is it A4, B1, C3, or D2? I feel like I'm playing bingo with those choices right now, honestly. But what is the answer? How many sisters? Sister, sister, never knew how much I missed
Oh my
you.
gosh, I skipped.
Oh, what? Okay, and it's D2. He has 2 sisters. Who got that right? Who knows? All right, next question. What year did Mr. Ballin retire from the military? Is it A, 2018, B, 2017, C, 2020, or D, 2019? Ten seconds. 5 seconds. Time is up. Answer is B, 2017. Ooh, I see some people got it. True or false? Mr. Ballin hates cats. Is it true or is it false?
Is it true? Is it true? And thank you, everyone. The intros, you guys keep sending your intros to introduce yourself to the server. It helps us understand and be able to look into a little database to learn more about who you are.
Time is up. What's your answer?
Boom.
False. He doesn't hate cats, guys.
He might hate cats.
How many videos has Mr. Ballin uploaded to his YouTube channel? Is it A, 393, B, 394, C, 338, or D, 339? 10 seconds left. I honestly don't know what this is as of, like what date this question was made, honestly. So,
Yeah, this might be a little bit behind.
yeah, this is just a guess. And the answer is 339 whenever we made this question. Mr. Ballin's sister has won a Pulitzer Prize. Is it true or is it false? 15 seconds. I actually saw someone say neither, so I don't know what that was referencing. 5 seconds left. And the answer is true, guys. It is true. That is awesome. What is Mr. Ballin's old social media handle? John Ballin 146, at John Ballin _ 146, or C at John Ballin 416, or D at John Ballin _ 416. This just makes me think of like old emails that we used to have, like you like set up as a teenager. Do you guys remember those? Does anybody still use their old emails? Anybody? I still do. Well, anyway, the answer is C at John Ballin 416.
By the way, we are going to be doing the raffle for the live show. If you typed Lungy in chat during the show, you got entered into the raffle. And so what we're going to do is up until the beginning of the after party is just the moment when people could get into the raffle. And so just check back on the server in the next couple days and just to see if you won some signed posters by Mr. Ballin.
Awesome. All right. Mr. Ballin's most popular video is his personal paranormal experience story. What are the names of the friends who were staying in the cabin with him? Was it A, John and Nick, B, Nick and Paul, C, Nick and Tiger, or D, Nick and Wolf? Five seconds. And the answer is D, Nick and Wolf. Next question. Which poem did Mr. Ballin say was used to simulate torture during training for Navy SEALs? Was it A, If by Rudyard Kipling, B, Boots by Rudyard Kipling, C, Little Boy Lost by William Blake, or D, Little Boy Found by William Blake? So pay attention to the questions or just change this a little bit. Which one do you think it is? Well, it is B, Boots. In his personal backstory video, Mr. Ballin talked about a fight in high school. What was the name of the guy he fought with? A, Patrick, B, Peter, C, Paul, D, Phil. Give you a hint, it does start with a P. 10 seconds left. Doo-doo-doo. 5 seconds. And the answer is C, Paul. Next question. Bonus. Dun, 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 dun. That's my dramatic music, guys. What was the cause of Mr. Ballen's infamous high school fight with he? Dun, 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 dun. A, Mr. Ballen was apparently hitting on Paul's girlfriend. B, Paul was hitting on Mr. Ballen's girlfriend. Or C, Mr. Ballen's girlfriend was cheating on him with Paul. What was it? Well, the answer is hey, Mr. Ballen was apparently on Paul's girlfriend. Okay. Next question. Which of these things has Mr. Ballen not done to the like button yet? A, gently terminate. B, gently annihilate. C, gently destroy. Or D, gently liquidate. This is as of these questions were made. Possibility something has happened since then, but we shall see. Answer to the best you can. Which one did he not do yet? And the answer is A, gently terminate. Y'all having fun? I know I am.
I'm having a great time. I think the chat's a little broken still. They're a little delayed, but it's working. So we'll keep the party going.
As long as they can hear me, that's fine. True or false? Mr. Ballen's first YouTube series was Places You Shouldn't Go and People Who Went There Anyway. Is it true or is it false? I really need game show music.
I know, that's the one thing missing.
Well, the answer is false. It wasn't. Who knows what it is? Who actually does? Do you know? I don't know. How many top places you shouldn't go episodes have there been to date, whenever this date was? A, 30, B, 29, C, 32, or D, 31? What is it? 5 seconds. Answer is C, 32. What is Mr. Ballen's most viewed YouTube video? A, this child star is evil. B, this man terrified the FBI. C, this psycho inspired Scream. Or D, this frat boy did the unthinkable. Which one? 10 seconds.
We just renamed Waiting Room back to General Chat. We renamed the server back to Mr. Ballen. Thank you guys all for an amazing event. We are going back to our original Discord server. And the answer is...
This child star is evil.
Dun, dun, dun.
Anybody who watched SpongeBob? Which of these Mr. Ballen videos has under 1 million views? A, The Stray Cat King. B, 12 Virtual Scary Stories, Volume 2. C, Top 3 signs of alien life, or D, the most terrifying mystery on the internet. Which one?
Dun 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 dun.
It is B, 12 Virtual Scary Stories, Volume 2.
Nice.
How many original podcast stories have there been to date? A, 63, B, 64, C, 65, or D, 66? It is in the 60s. 10 seconds left. Oh, I see someone wrote 65, so chat may have caught up a little bit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just saw it in the chat. Someone wrote 65. Is it right though? No, it's not. It's 63. Good try. And which episode is the iconic Bell's Canyon story featured? A, Top 3 Scariest True Stories, Spooky Stories Part 1. B, Top 3 Scariest True Stories, Spooky Stories Part 2. C, Top 3 Scariest True Stories, Spooky Stories Part 3. Wow. You really have to know this.
Wow.
You really have to know this because the answers are very close.
Get a little Owen Wilson. Wow.
Wow. It is B. Part 2. Part D.
Hot bay.
All right. So, how well did you know Mr. Ballin? Well, if you had 15, I hope you guys actually added up the points, okay? Because you got to see what category you're in. So, if you're 15 to 19 points, you are a Ballin. Impressive work. Your knowledge of Mr. Ballin facts is something Lungi would be proud of. 10 to 15 points. Ballin enthusiast. Great work. You're on your way to becoming an expert, but you may want to lay off the like button torture for a little while and study more. Or 0 to 10 points. Ballin novice. Off to Bell's Canyon with you. The peace and quiet should help give you the space to get up to speed on everything Mr. B. Yeah, you need to leave here right now and watch a whole bunch of videos if you're there. Just kidding. But that was a whole lot of fun. I don't know
That was a lot
about
of
you, I
fun.
had a blast.
Thank you everyone for playing. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen for a second, and we are gonna pause the chat once again, and we are gonna drop in that reminder for next week's event. And I just want to make sure people know about it because we want to see you come out. We want to see you come out. So we're gonna pause the chat one more time and see if we can get that RSVP list up to 1,200 because I know everyone's busy and everyone has a life, but the more people who sign up, the better the vibes at these events are, and they're just so fun. So we're gonna copy this link, drop it in chat, and let's see if you haven't had a chance to sign up for this yet. We got 1,135 people signed up to come out to this event next week. Again, we are celebrating the worldwide release of the podcast, and so there are a handful of episodes that you might not have ever heard of before. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna come together and we're gonna listen to a few every week, just so we can all get caught up to celebrate this massive, massive announcement. And so we've got over 1,100 people signed up for that, which is amazing. And then I'm gonna drop one more link. Excuse the voice crack. It's been a long day. We're gonna vote one more link to the link to buy merch for the Ballentine's Day event. So if you haven't gotten a chance to explore it, this is the official link. I know there's been a few questions about some people just impostoring or just some fake websites out there. This is the official link. Don't buy anything from anywhere else except for this site. So you see that in chat. If you see it come from my name, you see it come from any username on the Discord in red or blue, that's a moderator, you know it's safe to purchase anything from there. But let's check it back in on those RSVPs. We are at 1,184, which is amazing. But that's so I went through the one quiz and then we did the this or that. Val, I unfortunately have to hop off here. So what do you think about us sending people over to the Hangout and Watch, and maybe we can queue up some content in there for everyone?
That's a great idea.
You feel
So
good about that?
Yeah, because there's a lot of new people here and they probably haven't hung out and watched with us before. So we can go ahead and put some, of course,
That
Mr.
would be
Ballin
great.
videos. And we have
So,
someone from the events team that's actually over there right now.
oh, great. Elle, that'd be amazing. So if Elle can start to cue things up, that'd be awesome. Guys, I just dropped a link to the Hangout and Watch chat. We are going to jump over there because we're going to show you exactly what we do every weekend when a new episode drops for Mr. Ballin. We come together every week and listen to the latest and greatest, the latest episode on his YouTube channel. So if you click that link, it'll jump you over to a completely different channel. This event is ending. Ballentine's Day isn't quite over yet, but the live show is ending. So head over to the Hangout and Watch channel. We'll queue up some YouTube videos, see if there's some content that you haven't seen before, and just connect and hang out with some like-minded people. It's what we love best. But is there anything else you want to say, Val? Anything about upcoming events from the team? I can drop some more stuff about movie nights in here. Anything you want to talk about that I can support? Well, Val just left as well. So Val is gone and I am alone. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop a link to the next episode watch party. So this one is the event. This is the one that's going to be playing this weekend. So that is our next episode watch party for the newest YouTube video. And if you still hear my voice, just know this event is ending. So we have that link for the YouTube video. And then if you like game nights, some more evenings where you can potentially win some server-wide experience and level up faster, there's a game night. And then I'm going to drop one more thing that you might be interested in, which is a movie night. And this is a reoccurring movie night every Sunday, late afternoon, where we come together and hang out. The movie title changes every week, but it's just an opportunity to come together. And that is the movie night. That is the movie for this weekend. And we'll be watching a new one the following weekend. So I'm going to drop a link. We're going to jump over to watch some YouTube content in the Hangout and Watch channel. So again, I'm leaving. There are 600 people in here that can still hear my voice. Everyone needs to leave. Click on that link right now. Go, 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 go. We are leaving. And once again, thank you so much for joining this community. Thank you for being a part of this. Please respect everyone. We keep internet safety always a priority. And if you ever need help, head over to the help channel or tag a moderator in chat so that we can come and assist you. We want to make sure this experience of you jumping on here, navigating something that might be a little challenging at first, is as easy as possible, because our goal is just to bring everyone together who are fans of the Strange, Dark, and Mysterious. So thank you everyone from Ballin Studios. Thanks for coming out to see Mr. Ballin. I appreciate you all. I will see you soon. I'm going to end this event.